Tonight's meditation talk, it came up because of a book that I'm reading, and it is related to the challenge of the week. The challenge of the week is read a book that somebody has recommended to you. So the book that I'm reading this week is called Start With Why, and it's by Simon Sinek. Some of you guys have probably heard him talk. He's got a fairly popular TED Talk where he goes through the basic ideas, and that's about as detailed as I'm going to get with the concept tonight because I have not finished the book yet. I got the rest of the week to finish it. But the idea is if you do what most people do in life and business and whatever, and you're thinking about what you're doing, that is not very interesting to anybody else or you. So if I say, martial arts, we punch and we kick and we throw, and yeah, to some people that's exciting, but a lot of people who don't get it, they're like, okay, like that sounds like I guess it could be a good workout, or some people would say, well, that sounds kind of violent. I don't think I would be interested in that. But all of you have experienced this. The why behind our practice is very different from what most people would get before actually practicing. So if you start with, like, we're going to try to transform your life through practicing martial arts. We're going to work on getting to enlightenment. We're going to work on transforming you on the deepest possible level and allowing you to transcend the ego. And I'm sure to some other people that sounds just as uninteresting as punching and kicking. But to the people who I care about, it's real interesting. Like, this is the most important stuff that you could be working on. And so you got my attention. If you start from why, if you start with the why of your practice, that completely changes what you're doing and how you're doing it. So if you're punching and kicking just because, you like punching and kicking, or because you want to learn how to defend yourself, that makes you do it in one way. And if you're punching and kicking because you want to get a great workout, that's going to change the way that you do it. And some of it is going to be good and some of it's going to be bad, right? You might throw your punches way harder, but they might get more sloppy. You might get a better workout, but your technique sucks. If you're practicing because you want both a workout and you want to get great self-defense, then you're going to have clean, hard technique. But still, you're missing something. You're not going to be pouring your soul into it. You're not going to be doing it to the point where it actually is changing what's going on here. So if your why is because I want to change myself on the deepest possible level, I want to become my highest self, or I want to at least practice connecting to that, then the way that you practice will be fundamentally different. And I suggest to you that most of you guys have experienced this, at least in a flash, but probably in a more lasting way, or you wouldn't still be here. And I suggest to you that if you did that same thing with everything in your life, that you would have a very different life. Your way of experiencing anything is drastically changed if you're thinking of it all as like a moving meditation, or if you're thinking of it all as an opportunity to transform yourself. And this is what I think is the greatest thing about martial arts, is that it gives us that opportunity, and it really kind of drives us to do that. So some non-martial arts examples of this. Simon Sinek uses the example of the Wright Brothers. And he doesn't start off talking about the Wright Brothers. He starts talking about all of the other people who were working across the country and likely around the world on this problem of we believe that it's possible to create manned flight. We believe it's possible to make this contraption where someone's going to be able to get into it and get into the air and go. And they had all of these people that were they had so much money, and they had all of the right brains working on it. They had all the knowledge that they needed, but all of these huge figures in industry were not able to crack it because their why sucked. Their why was like, well, this should be possible, and their why was, well, somebody's paying us enough money to figure it out, so we should really work on this and do it. But the Wright brothers, and you gotta listen to his full explanation of this and do some research because I'm probably butchering this, but they were like, they loved it. They just really wanted to fly. And they were going at it from a totally different perspective and a totally different reason why. And of course, you could say that made them work harder and it made them be more creative and all of the different ways that must have affected the process. But the basic reality is that their reasons why, their why, and what they were acting from every step of the way completely changed. It led to a totally different methodology and a different outcome. And that is very real world stuff. You can probably point to plenty of times in your life where you have shown up. Maybe you're showing up to class, maybe you're showing up to work. Let's stick with work because that's less fun. And even now you're logging in on Zoom and you're just thinking like, well, I guess I have to do this. It's work. Of course I got to show up to work. I'm going to do it. And your day is decidedly not awesome. You're spending all of your time and all of your energy from that standpoint of, I have to be here. And that is what makes us all zombies. That is what makes life awful. If you are doing something just because you have been told that you have to do it, you're not going to love it, you're not going to try very hard, and you're probably going to be really bad at it. And some of you are, getting defensive in your heads now. Well, I hate my job, but I'm great at it. Maybe, but I promise you that you could be better if you really had a great reason why you're doing it. So this, and it could be anything. Here's the thing about why is, you get to choose this. Some people are thinking like, this is all well and good, but like, when is this why going to hit me? Like it's going to smack you in the face and be super obvious. It might not. It might be something that you come up with. And this is really something that is incredibly valuable and powerful, is for you to be able to choose the whys in your life. And I had this epiphany. It seems really silly when I look back at it, but in the moment it was like one of the deepest, most powerful moments in my life, where I was sitting at dinner with somebody who I liked perfectly fine. It was, a good friend. It was somebody who I cared about and generally enjoyed spending time with. But it had gotten to the point where we had like this weekly scheduled dinner, and I was just like, I just don't feel like doing this. I feel like it's an obligation. I'm doing it for the wrong reasons. I'm showing up because I feel like I have to. I'm showing up to dinner instead of why I started doing it, which was because I just like wanted to spend time with this person and wanted to have a lively conversation, wanted to connect. It turned into, now I have to do this. And that dinner and many before it were just totally unenjoyable. And I found myself sitting there thinking like, I can't believe I have to sit here for another 2 hours. And in that moment, I had this epiphany, this incredible thought came to me from nowhere. You don't have to be here. You could just stand up and leave if you wanted to. And of course, my next thought was, well, she'd probably be kind of annoyed by that. And then I thought, yeah, maybe, but we'd probably, we'd talk it out and we'd be fine. And I really started to realize, like, wait a minute, I could stand up and leave and I could do whatever the hell I want right now. I could do that with anything. There's nothing that I actually have to just stay. I mean, no, I'm not chained to the wall here. I can just stand up and walk out the door and say, see you later, I'll talk to you tomorrow. And that's the end of it. And if this were a movie, I would have gotten up in a huff and stormed out the door and reclaimed my life. But the reality that we are, it's not even reality. It's like the real power that we are afforded in that situation when we make a realization like that is wait a minute, I can stay here and still have dinner and still converse, but I'm doing it because I choose to be here. And make no mistake, you are always choosing to be wherever you are and to do whatever you are doing unless you are actually imprisoned and being, bodily forced to do whatever it is that you're doing. But you're choosing to do it. Now you might be choosing to do it out of apathy, you might be choosing to do it because you actually want to do it, but you're making that choice. And as soon as you recognize that it's your choice and you have the power to choose and do otherwise, then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, this is great. It's my choice, and it's totally under my power that I am here. And so then that takes away the whole sense of, this stinks. Why am I being forced to be here? Why am I kind of just going through the motions? It's happening because I'm choosing to be here, and that kind of empowering place to come from totally changes it. For me in that moment, I just completely enjoyed the rest of that dinner and the rest of that conversation. And I took that out into other situations, and as soon as I realized that I was in that same space in my head of I'm being forced to do this, they've basically just got me in handcuffs here, forcing me to do this, I realized, wait a minute, that's that old way of thinking that I don't need, because it's not actually real and it's not helpful. What's helpful for me is to realize that I'm choosing to do this, and therefore I get to be exactly how I want to be in this situation. If you're still practicing martial arts here or anywhere else after years, you have experienced a transformation, something like this, and you have definitely experienced days where you don't want to be in class because you would rather stay home and sit on the couch, or you would rather keep sleeping, or whatever it is, and you have then either given into that type of feeling, or wherever your head's at, you've given into that and you've just stayed home and not come to class, or you've said, no, I'm going to do it anyways. And the reason that you did that has probably changed over time, but on some level it is likely coming from a place of like, I decided that I was going to do this. I made the decision when I was in a better place that this is what I wanted to do, and so I'm going to stick to it. It could be that I paid for the classes, and so I'm going to show up. I don't even care if I don't feel like doing it now, but I'm going to do it. I'm not getting that money back. It could be that, Sifu asked me when I was going to come back next, and I said I was going to be back today, and if I don't show up, I know he's going to give me crap for it the next time he sees me, so I'm going to show up just to take away that opportunity for him to give me crap. And whatever it is that causes you to get into the dojo that day, it could lead to a different experience of class, of course, but whatever it takes to get you in there is better than nothing. So let's start with that. If you find that fairly often you just have to, convince yourself to do it, whatever it takes and however you get it to happen is better than not doing it. And this is related to a question that Leah was asking me this morning, isn't there a way to get beyond that so that it's not the ego or the logical mind that is propelling us through life, but can't we get to the point where it's just easy and it just feels natural for me to get off the couch and go to class, or it feels natural for me to turn on the Zoom meeting and sweat? And certainly that is the case. But it might not happen in that instant in a lasting way. It might, but it might take some time, and it might take, like I was saying this morning, you might have to actively try to reprogram your mind so that you recognize every time you're your mind is in that state that says, I don't want to do this, I'm being forced to do this, I'm forcing myself, whatever it is. Every time you recognize that, you flip it and you say, wait a minute, I have the choice. I'm choosing to do this because of whatever. And so then you insert right there in that normal process of your mind that just is dragging you through the dirt. You insert a thought that goes like, I'm choosing to do this because I care about being the best person that I can be. I'm choosing to do this because I want to be the best parent that I can be. I'm choosing to do this because I want to be the best husband, wife. I want to be the best at my job. I want to be the best at whatever it is that I can be. And it can't be about being better than other people, because that's still ego. It's about connecting yourself to something bigger and something more important than yourself. And it might be, I want to be there for all of my partners at the dojo. It might be, I want to be there because I believe in the effect that martial arts can have on the world. Or it might be, I want to be there because I trust that when Sifu tells me I'm going to get great someday, I'm going to get there. Or I trust that there's something beyond where I'm at right now, whatever it takes. But if you are able to, on the regular, reprogram your mind and have that thought be the next thought that happens, then you're able to be connected to that in a more regular way. And this is going to be less necessary for most of you guys in martial arts, because again, if you're still here, you probably love it or at least can tolerate it. But there are things in your life that you can hardly tolerate, and probably people. So start working on this, where you're actively reprogramming, inserting that thought into your mind so that you go back to it regularly, and now you remind yourself, yeah, that's why I'm doing this. You hate your job. Okay, you don't do your job because it's a thing that you have to do, or you will get, you won't have any money to buy things, or you won't be able to afford your mortgage or your rent, or your kids can't go to college, or whatever it is. Kids going to college is actually starting to get into the thing that we want to be thinking about. If you've got something that is important to you that you're saving for, and it might be, Jared, it's your own college. College is probably not important to you yet, but it will be someday. And something that really touches you and inspires you and lights you up, and that's the thing that you are connecting to, then that's going to be all the gas and fuel that you need. That's going to eject you from the couch and get you to work, class, whatever it is that you need to get to. And we would love for it to just be an automatic thing that happens like this, but the way that we train our minds is pretty imperative. And for me, when I started martial arts, my reason for starting was my mom made me do martial arts. I was not paying attention in school. I was the kid who got, the detentions all the time, and whose parents kept getting called every day. Well, he did this today, and yesterday he did this. And my mom was, interested in helping me. So she said, you're doing this, martial arts. And when I started martial arts, and in fact, the entire time that I was at the first martial arts school practicing Taekwondo, I hated it. I didn't want to go. I mean, maybe the first or second class, but it did not take long for me to realize, like, this is just not for me. And my mom making me go is not giving me the inspiration that I need to excel at this and to enjoy it. And I quit. I begged my mom to let me quit, and it took a while, but she eventually did. And years later, when I started again as an adult, my reasoning was, well, my friends are doing it, and it seems kind of cool. I don't know anything about it, but they're going there all the time, so I guess there must be something fun about it. And so I showed up to do a class, and I was looking around, and I was thinking, these people seem to, really enjoy it. They seem to be trying hard, so I'll try it. And probably the first class. I can't say for sure that I remember what C.P. Brown talked about the first class, but it was likely the first class. He said something about, discipline, meditation, being able to choose the types of thoughts that you have, all this general stuff of like taking over your life and not just being a zombie. And it hit me pretty early on that, this is way more than I thought that it was going to be. This is way more important and impactful. And so then my why started to evolve fairly rapidly, and within the first year, my why became, hey, I want to do this for the rest of my life. I want to teach other people how to do this. I want this for the world. And it is a massively different experience practicing martial arts because you want it to change the world versus practicing martial arts because your mom drove you and made you do it, and if you don't do it, you're going to get in trouble. I mean, when I was a kid, I played hooky exactly 2 times in all of my life, probably up until today. One of them was I had a big project due at school. I woke up, it was snowing out. This was in Michigan. I lived close enough to the school that the bus wouldn't pick me up. So I'd have to walk to school, and I thought, perfect. I'm just gonna wait until my parents leave. I'll say that I'm going to school, and then I'll just stay home and not go to school. My dad says, get in the car, I'm driving you to school. So I said, no, I'll walk. He said, get in the car. So he drove me to school, and then I walked back in the snow home so that I could avoid telling my teacher that I didn't finish my project. And this, you'll know that this was only my first time playing hooky from school, because I had no concept that the school would call my parents and tell them that I wasn't there. I was just like, I'm getting off so easy right now. I don't have to do my homework ever again. And they called my parents that night and said, he wasn't in school today. And so they sat me down and said, you have to show up to school and do your homework. So I got in trouble that time. But the first time, I never got in trouble. I was playing hooky from Taekwondo. I didn't want to go so badly that I had to leave my after school daycare that I was at, and I hid in the playground of my school. And I was actually like hiding behind in like a wood box so that nobody knew that I was there, because I was deathly afraid of getting caught, but also did not want to go to class at all. And I went to such incredible lengths and got so creative with this thing. But by the end of it, I realized that they locked me in, so I had to climb over the fence, and it was a chain link fence. And as I was climbing down the other side of it, the fence got me. I'm totally fine, but I got like a pretty bad scrape, and I still have the scar on the side of my body. And so when I look at myself in the mirror, sometimes I see it and I say, yeah, that's the scar that I got because I didn't have a good reason to practice Taekwondo when I was a kid. And now I've got one, and I still get scars sometimes, but these scars are awesome scars. These bruises, these sore muscles that I get they're great. They're badges of honor, and they remind me of why I do what I do and why I love it. And that is like a whole other level. And I know that some of you guys have experienced this too, where you're walking around the next day after class and you're just thinking, oh, everything hurts. What kind of hell is this? And then you remember why everything hurts, and you go, oh yeah, that's right. It's because I got crushed last night. It was awesome. And if you've got a good enough reason why, you will put up with incredible hardships, and you will propel yourself to the next level in pretty much anything. We practice doing this sometimes in class, but you're going to very early on get to the point where you don't need to come up with a good reason why. It's going to just be there naturally for you. So then you got to take that into everything else. Really, this is our practice cannot live only in the dojo. And this ability to take this part this incredibly important part, being able to find motivation, being able to fire ourselves up into other things that it's not as natural for us to enjoy, that we don't have a naturally occurring why. And then we create a why. So sometimes it's just going to happen by itself, and sometimes we've got to be creative. And I've been working on this in class this week about where you're putting your hands. Some people, when they throw hook punches, and when I say some people, I mean you, when you throw hook punches, your other hand goes way back here, and it's not serving any purpose down here. Or you drop your hand like this. It serves no purpose. You don't have a good reason why your hand is there. And so then you need to think about that. Why is my hand there? If I don't have a good reason, I'm either going to change what I'm doing and put my hand here, or put my hand here, or wherever it is that I'm going to put it, or I'm going to come up with a great reason why it's here. Now, this is a bad example because there is no great reason to have your hand over here unless someone's attacking you from behind at the same time. So, something else might make more sense about coming up with a reason why. Your job is a much better example, right? You're either going to realize that you don't have a good reason why you're doing your job, and so you quit and do something that you do enjoy doing, or you come up with a great reason why you're doing your job. And it could be anything. I'm doing it because I'm trying to build a future for myself, for my family. I'm doing it because I'm doing it because I actually do enjoy the interaction with the people that I get. I mean, you guys, I'm sure some of you are so ready to get back to work. You are so done with just sitting at home and staring at my face and nobody else's, that you'll go back to that job that you hated just a couple of months ago. But if you come up with a great reason why, your experience changes fundamentally. And so this is what we are working on this week when we're doing this. We're not just working on not getting punched in the face. You're working on being able to recognize the whys behind everything. And then that is what you start with. So back to the book. The book is called Start With Why. And it's because this is actually what we want to base everything on. So if you start with the great reason why you're doing something, then everything that you do, the how, the what, all of that changes fundamentally. Your experience changes fundamentally. And now you've got a life worth living. Now you've got a day that you love. And you could do the exact same stuff that you did yesterday when you had a crappy reason why. One of my favorite sayings is, chop wood, carry water before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water after enlightenment. And enlightenment doesn't have to be the, God reached down and touched me and now I'm one with the universe. It could just be, I realize I don't have to be here right now. I'm choosing to be here. Like, enlightenment is on whatever scale it is for us. You might do the same exact thing. You might sit there and have that same conversation and have that same dinner, but your experience of it is fundamentally different. And you are really connected to something more important, something deeper, something that allows you to be your higher self. So that's what we're aiming for. Good luck with that. When we sit to meditate, of course, you're trying to connect to your higher self. You're trying to get to the point where you have no distractions and nothing in the way of the moment, of you being able to experience it. But it directly aids our ability to recognize our thought processes, to be able to be aware enough of what's going on in our head that we can let go of one thought and move on to another thought, or insert something in there that will then create a reason why that really helps us be the way that we want to be. So that's what you're going to do now. Sit comfortably.